Hi everyone, today we're taking a closer look at how the female experience is portrayed in two very different works of art. First, Interior Woman at the Window by Gustav Caillebotte, and second, Judith slaying Holofernes by Artemisia Gentileschi. All too often, women's emotions are downplayed and oversimplified, but these two paintings tell a more complex story. We'll explore what these emotional portrayals might really be saying and how they challenge the idea that women's experiences can be neatly categorized or easily understood. In our first work, we are going to be looking at Gustav Caillebotte's Interior Woman at the Window. We'll be starting with this work as it is a more subtle, yet all the more powerful display of emotion. Here, we see a woman in a black dress standing at her window, which overlooks the city of Paris, along with a nearby hotel. Sat in a chair beside her is a man reading a newspaper. It is safe to assume that this is a husband and wife. However, the dark colors and use of framing only around the woman gives the viewer a sense of loneliness and isolation. Diving even deeper, as stated by the History of Art website, there's a visual illusion present that makes the man and woman appear to be closer than they really are, similar to the emotional illusion they may be presenting to society. A common theme for Caillebotte's work is a focus on interior settings and domestic environments, which is said to reflect personal identities and social roles. Circling back to the woman and this innate sense of isolation, she appears to be looking across to the neighboring hotel, where another figure is seemingly looking back at her. It is possible that at this moment, this woman, who has been forced into mental isolation, is feeling trapped in a loveless marriage, and can't help but wonder what her life may have been like otherwise. Although there is no definitive answer and no real signs of outward emotion, it leads to the idea that the woman in this painting has come to the most lethal feeling of all: indifference. In our second work, we are going to be diving into the work of Baroque artist Artemisia Gentileschi. Specifically, we'll be looking at Judith slaying Holofernes. The stark, dark background, contrasted with the dramatic lighting of the main subjects, otherwise known as tenebrism, evokes strong emotions from a first glance. Depicted here is Judith, clad in her best clothes, assisted by her maidservant, decapitating Holofernes, general of the Assyrian army. The story behind this painting is that Judith takes it upon herself to save her city from the siege of the Assyrian army. Since she likely cannot take it back by force, she uses her own cunning and men's predictability in order to get her revenge. Dressed in her best clothes, she seduces Holofernes, who invites her back to his tent for wine and food. It is here that Holofernes becomes so intoxicated that he falls asleep, and Judith takes action. In this painting, Gentileschi is intentionally direct and does not shy away from any grotesque detail. The work was so gory, in fact, that Cosimo Medici was not going to pay her, and it was not to be exhibited at all. It was only after Galileo Galilei convinced Medici did Gentileschi receive payment. According to Mary D. Gerard's book, Artemisia Gentileschi, The Image of the Female Hero in Italian Baroque Art, it is said that this painting may have been in response to Gentileschi's own assault and traumatic trial. This has led to the painting being recognized as a symbol of vengeance and justice. Circling back once more to the intense emotion that is portrayed through this work, it is nothing less than moving. The intense and focused look on each of the women's faces, accompanied by the strong nature of their movements, it seems obvious that there was real emotion coming from the artist. The negative response, however, to this work, which was painted by a woman and portrays women as the heroes, at the expense of men, further solidifies the notion that, to society, women cannot be the heroes and must remain gentle and proper, no matter the cost to them. In Gerard's second book, Artemisia Gentileschi and Feminism in Early Modern Europe, she challenges this by discussing the idea that this painting gives women a moral complexity and psychological depth. Overall, the Impressionist work by Caillebotte and the Baroque work by Gentileschi are two very different yet equally important paintings that are beautifully portray the complex emotions of women.